Hello and good evening. It's been another week and price hasn't moved, but we'll still find something to talk about. Don't have to worry about that. How are you guys doing? Everyone doing all right? Finn says good evening and Pyrotechnician says bonjour. Bonjour to you too, my friend. And hope you guys are doing well. It's been slow. There's really Cred and I were writing the newsletter yesterday, and we were arguing whether we should actually just not put it out because there's been nothing really happening. But still did. I'm still gonna stream. We can find something to do. We don't really necessarily need to look at the charts, given this is what we're dealing with. Beautiful, huh? These are 5-minute candles, and they're actually just trading the minimum tick size, which is fun. It's been more than lame. Oh, excuse me. I need to close everything else. But yeah, it's been a little bit tough, but that's just how the markets are sometimes. So yeah, illiquid is an understatement there. Yeah, it is. And I mean, really in times like these, it makes sense to just sit back, relax, and just position yourself the way you want to be positioned and just walk away. But given we're all addicted to this, for better or worse, we still have to observe. Grant says, "Hey Don, hope all is well." All is well. Life is good. The market, not so much. Life, cannot complain. So yeah, let's walk through the time frames real quick, and then we can actually just talk about some more coins that you guys are watching. I can fill up this watch list, see what we can do there, and then go from there. Because right now I don't really have personal interest in a lot of altcoins, but I'll see what you guys like, and then we can go and add it and then come back to it every other week. Anyway, high time frame wise, Bitcoin, we had our fake out to the top. Pretty neat exit signal, honestly, now in hindsight. Back then it was really hard to sell this, but at the end of the day, paid off handsomely. So yeah, we had this fake out to the upside in this range. The range broke down, and now we had another range, a tiny one here, that broke out to the downside as well. Now, what you want to see is basically this be a fake out as well. So basically inverse of what we have here, you want to have here. But I'll say the same thing that I said at the high, right? So when we're trading at 60, 61, 62, I was like, it's high, it's very, very high, but it doesn't really make sense to expect this to fail because you'll have an easy invalidation if we start closing back below 60K. We did, and I mean, at the end of the day, if you sold 58 or 60K, I don't think anyone really gives a shit, given we're trading at 16K right now. And I think the same will be true here. You're gonna have a range, and the moment you start breaking out of the range, whether you bought the range low or the breakout, that's gonna be a 10-20% difference, but it's not gonna matter in the grand scheme of things once we find a bottom, right? So the wise approach is just letting this go, waiting for it to either, in this case, what we have right now is we had this trade here and came back down, put in the range, and then broke down from the range, right? That's the price action. Now what you want to be seeing is obviously it coming back into the range, because then you can play the next move higher. The other approach, this being the range reclaim one, which I think is the safest one. The other approach is high time frame, mind you, this is a high time frame perspective, is buying high time frame support, right? And we have two levels that are of interest. One is 14K and one is 10K, right? Anything in between those levels, right? Because oftentimes what happens is you like once while you're crashing, you crash, people start buying 14K, like the first level of support, and then it wicks to the second one, kind of fucking everyone over that bought the first level, especially given most people just buy on leverage. They get wiped out. It goes to the second level, which is a really, really good buy at that point, and then goes all the way back to the first, and then closes there, and then you get a reversal. That'd be one of the, it'd be a scary trade to take, but it'd be one of the better entries that you could get. Now, these kind of trades are never guaranteed, right? Sometimes you get them. Right here, for example, went to 6K. You can see this exact same thing happen. The level held, right? But if you bought 6K on leverage, it went all the way down to 3.6K. I don't think you had any fun if you bought it on leverage, right? Whereas if you bought the next support, which was basically this, there's more of a chance that you survive. This is obviously being the COVID crash. And then in here, it even went to basically the last level, as in like the bottom of this consolidation. But I don't think anything of that nature is going to come again. If anything, you want to be bidding the level below the nearest level if you think a crash is coming, right? So that's kind of how I'm looking at this thing. Like if you want to be bottom catching, but there's obviously different time frames, right? Monthly is my favorite one, and it's been kind of guiding me along the bear market and the bull market. Basically, the moment I started trusting this bull market was when we broke out of 14K. That was like the signal, okay, it's actually on. And the moment I was like, okay, this bull market has ended, was when we lost the range high, right? So the monthly's been excellent on both initiating the bull market and ending it. So technically makes sense to give it a shot, right? 14K being an interesting level. But I do like the weekly as well, and the weekly is at support. Oh, Jesus Christ. Give me a sec. I'll close a few things. Sorry about that. Anyway, the weekly, right? Weekly, also very interesting. On the weekly, we're at support, and we're doing like a thing that I like to see. It's just, I don't like this week right now. But whenever you hit a support, basically straight down, and you start this walk up and you start accelerating, that starts looking really, really good, right? So if this turns into a green candle and then starts walking up, that's basically, it's like, looks like a hook. Basically, like you have the new candle down here, you have a hook here. Those usually tend to squeeze aggressively, but we need one more weekly candle to the upside. If we cannot even do that, it's kind of screwed, right? That starts being scary. But yeah, we're at weekly support. So we're far from monthly support. We broke, like on the monthly, there's just nothing to do in this range. I bought anyway because I like the weekly structure, and I think we've kind of done enough. But the wise choice, in my opinion, is just giving the monthly the shot. I'm just a little bit greedy, so I wanted to make sure I get an entry. And then if the monthly aligns with my idea, I might buy more, might not, we'll see. Anyway, if we start losing 16K on the weekly, I'll get out and look for rebuy in the 11K, 10K range, which aligns with basically the monthly picture that I outlined, right? So right now, that's how we're trading. Support has held. It's kind of been like straight nuke. Support held the next week, the next week, the next week, and you see there's one test, there's two tests, there's three tests, there's four tests, and now we finally moved off from it. So like that's not the worst in the world. It's just basically, and this is something that has been holding us back, the S&P's been retracing this week. So we'll see how that goes, but it's at support right now. So fingers crossed that we get that tailwind again. Hey, boys and Don, chat being as charming as ever. But yeah, that's the weekly picture, right? The problem is you go on the lower time frames and you see the volatility of like, this is just horrendous. That is just very, very bad. Reminds me of 2018 price action when you can barely see anything. Like, look at this. Price hasn't moved since we started the show. Literally hasn't moved. This is obviously being BitMEX. Other exchanges like Binance have a little bit because they have 0 fees, right? So it's a little bit different, but they're not really moving either, right? This is tiny, tiny movements. So yeah, there's really not that much in terms of volatility, which is gonna be draining on any trader, right? So we're just gonna have to wait basically. And if you remember back in 2018, the last classical kind of bear market bottom that we had, this was agonizingly slow, and we had like 20% moves to the downside, then we had 20% moves to the upside, back down again, and then we basically started this walk up, and this is what you want to be seeing. I think if you want to have a bottom, this would be a sweet way to do it, basically like walking it up here, or basically going sideways in here and then starting to walk up. Because those kind of walk-ups, this is the thing that makes Bitcoin pop. You can see it on different kind of in different kind of times. Back in 2016 as well, you start walking up and then you pop, and this obviously immediately retraced to the origin, but then went on to go nuts. So that's kind of what you want to be looking out for. If you see, like, start seeing this on the weekly, basically line that goes like this, then you know you're in good hands. Until you do that, pretty tough to say. But like I said, I have a position. I feel like the prices are low enough to make it worthwhile, to have a little bit of risk on the table. So I do. Chances goes to 100k in 2024. I'd say like 1%. Seems very, very unlikely. I'd be happy if we were at 30 or 40k in 2024. So yeah. Oh Jesus, my chair is starting to die. Chairs never survive long with me, and that's not because I'm fat, because I'm actually not. It's just because I sit like an absolute monkey. Hey Don, where do you trade futures nowadays? The answer is I don't. I do my trading spot. So I use Binance, I use Kraken, I use a few other exchanges, I use Coinbase. Yeah, everything basically. But I trade spot. Feels like everything is hanging on the S&P at support a little bit. It's been a little bit of an S&P market, and it's just rough. Not really the best times to trade crypto when you're just mirroring the S&P. Yo, Dawn, is your color scheme the default one? Like, not really, I think. Look, I made this myself, the green. You can just add colors here, and I did this one. So, and I think I have the same here. I added this myself. I think the red's the default, the green isn't, but it's almost the default. Did your stepmom buy LTC at the top? No, she thinks it's all a scam. And yeah. Also very much not into vaccines. I don't know if that's correlated or not. Okay, I've got a few, like, just by checking the chat, right? It's kind of funny. Like, we're talking about crypto here, it's a crypto show, and 50% of the comments are about other things. That's that's telling of what the market's been doing and how shit it's been. You'd expect people to ask about their shitcoins, but they're down so much that they don't, like, that's not even part of the conversation anymore. Did you buy Meta in the end? Remember you were thinking about it? I did want to, was a little bit of a headache, so I didn't. But it's kind of funny because we talked about this on the show. Like, I was looking into buying it on the show. I knew, like, we were close, and I was trying to buy it. I think it was 94, and then it bounced. 30%, which is quite the bounce for a stock market thing. Still interested, but it kind of filled the gap that I was aiming at. So not really. But yeah, Meta is an interesting one. It just broke the high time frame levels, so I want to give it some time. Like the below 100 kind of play was nice and obvious. Now it's a little bit less. So look, the Meta play is basically range here. If you fall out of the range, that's what I'm gonna buy. If you reclaim the range as in above 130, I might buy it. But yeah, I don't know. I just like crypto right now, so I've been focusing on that. Bought some Meta because of your mentions. Sick. Happy to have help because that has to be in profit. I think the first time I mentioned it was 98 or something. And that's still up like 15%, which is a really good deal in stock market land. Okay. Chris says he made 20% and is already out. Well, good shit, my friend. Good shit. That's a good trade right there. Anyway, that's Bitcoin, right? So we talked about the weekly, we talked about the monthly. Like I said, the weekly, if this candle turns green, you have this very typical kind of hook pattern that we like to do before we go like quite a bit higher. Like it likes to do this, where it nukes and then starts consolidating and starts walking up. This is obviously being stopped by COVID. But like you can see this, like whenever you see this on the weekly, you want to open your eyes because there's usually like a good sign of things to come. And it's the same here really, like you had a nuke and you start hooking it up, and that was actually the range. Like that was just a low. So like that's what you want to be seeing. Not entirely sure if it's gonna do it or not, but if it does, and if it breaks 20K while it's doing it, assume that this was the low, right? And then just trade that way. Basically, assume the low is in. If it goes up, you want to sell resistance, but you definitely want to be rebuying support if you get to. Because the first pullback is basically going to be quite aggressive if it is the low, right? Let's say this breaks down out. It's going to be an aggressive push towards 24, I think. And then you might get like an aggressive pullback back to 19K. And that's a trade where you can kind of compound your position before it kind of goes higher. But I want to wait and see. I don't want to call for this before we actually trade in that vicinity. Hey Don, why not dark theme? My eyes, dude, I cannot. Dark themes just look stupid. I don't know why everyone likes it. It's just not my thing. Anyway, that's Bitcoin on the weekly. When you look at it on the daily, right? This we're in this interesting area of okay, we have support very close by and we have resistance very close by, and this has been a range. And if you get a close above 16.8 or 16.9 today, it starts actually looking really, really good again, because basically we had the S&P dump a little bit today. We had a bunch of delevering going on. As long as you hold support, this range is holding, and then this impulse is holding as well, right? So had an impulse to the upside and basically built a range, right? So you had the, oh my God, fucking damn it. I hate drawing on this. Anyway, you have the impulse to the upside, you have a sideways movement, you'd expect another impulse, right? Just the first impulse to the upside. As long as this range holds, you want to see another one. But we have to close above support for this. Otherwise, like the next bullish opportunity is losing the range and coming back into it, and then actually closing back above it. That would start looking really, really good, as in like a close above 16K. I think in general, a close above 16.1K starts looking really good, really fast, because that would open the road towards 19K. But for that, you need a good close today, and you need a little bit of power in the coming week. Unless, like, if we just lose the range, you don't want to bet on a false range breakdown. until it's actually confirmed in my eyes. But yeah, I mean, this kind of range is just tiresome, right? This is a range of 1% for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. And that's gonna drive you crazy and reposition. Like, people during these kind of times, people reposition a million times, right? And then you lose on fees because you cannot really position wrongly during this unless you trade with 100 leverage, but you can open and close a trade for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 times, and then you pay a shitload in fees. And the only people that are going to be happy about it are the exchanges. But yeah, I cannot recommend. It's just not how you should be trading. Excuse me. Suddenly got really tired. Anyway, like I said, on the daily, 17.1k plus, very good close. You want to hold this green line on the close today. Anything beyond that is just kind of like shitty. And if you start losing this impulse, basically like 16.2k, it starts getting really ugly really fast. And that's pretty damn close. So yeah. That's kind of my feel. I have a good position. It's from quite a bit lower, especially given I've been trading Litecoin, and that's still up like more than 20%. But yeah, it's tiresome. I'm getting bored of this, and I'm very used to trading like this. We're dumping on Bitcoin. Look at the 15 seconds chart, Don. Oh. God fucking damn it. I got scammed by TradingView. Because they gave me the best plan for free. I was like, well, cool, I'll take it. But apparently they downgraded me again. It is what it is. It's not even, like, the bear market's so bad that they don't even give the influencers the free stuff anymore. Next thing you know, I'll have to pay for it too. Laughing my ass off. Dude doesn't even have premium. We are really in the bear market right now, in it. Yeah, the funniest thing is that legitimate, I had it, and then they were like, oh, you don't need to pay for this. You can have it for free given you use TradingView charts. And I was like, okay. And apparently they downgraded me now, which is hilarious. Because you can see that I've been using, look, you can see that I've been using these just for fun. And I've been actually using this on stream before. So it is what it is. They're rugging me. Life's tough. Anyway, that's that. The 4 hour is an interesting chart as well here. Had this descending triangle that broke to the upside, and now what we do have here is a range that broke to the downside. So we went from supposedly bearish pattern. I still call bullshit, because the thing is, like, a descending triangle doesn't have to be bearish per se, especially if it has a false breakdown. Can also be bullish, which is shown here, obviously. But yeah, now we have this range, right? We had a range. Beauty of break below the breakout point, which kind of leads you to range low. And the best kind of, like, most beautiful outcome of this would be basically this being the same as this. Right, so false breakout into false breakdown, that'd be the nicest, and then come back in the range, and then it actually starts looking okay, because you would expect it to go to range high and then maybe higher. But until that happens on the low time frames, no need to have false hopes. So just be a little bit patient. It's not that far away. That's Bitcoin. In regards to ETH, we have like a little bit of a different situation. The monthly support on ETH's been holding. You technically have like, it's trying to establish a higher low. I don't really think the monthly is too nice anymore. It was nice the first test. This is why we bought ETH below 1,000, because it went into support. That's cool. But now that it's been used before, not really that interesting. The more interesting chart is the weekly chart, and that is currently trying to make a lower high. A higher low. Jesus Christ. Oh, life is tough. Why am I doing these in the evenings? I'm completely useless right now. Anyway, it's trying to make a higher low, and if it can break this resistance, I think it actually starts looking really good. Just needs to close green and with a little bit of force, and then we can start going. But yeah, needs to. And it's basically in this tiny range, which is also like just like 5-6%. Bitcoin is in the 1% range, ETH is in the 6% range. This is hell. But I think like this actually doesn't look too bad to me. Support held, test the resistance. I want to see this week close, but I could see it close nicely, and then up we go. That'd be kind of nice. I like it. Don't really see too much to worry about. Just the moment we start losing 1,000 on a closing basis, we do have a little bit to worry about, because then we would kind of go back into this monthly support, and I kind of feel like we test lower levels. And on the monthly, we don't really have a support until 400. You could argue like 700, but it's shitty support. 400 in here, pretty nice support. But I don't like 400 seems a little bit low. I don't really think that's gonna happen. So the weekly, we can use the weekly time frame, and there we have an 800 support. So if you lose this 1.1k level, 800 is the next support. That's interesting. But that would also kill the market structure, kill everything that's been going on. So I would rather have it just hold here, and then we can go from there. Much prettier. Do you think ETH has more potential in the way up compared to Bitcoin? Yes, more potential for both up and downside. So Don looks tired and the baby isn't even born yet. We're going to lose him when the baby's born. Yes, most definitely. Now I actually have been tidying up the place, because I've been moving. Tidying up the place, organizing everything and all that kind of stuff just gets you tired. Building furniture, all that kind of stuff. So that is why I'm kind of lazy right now. Doing great, Don. Appreciate your efforts, dude. That sounds like I don't know. It doesn't really sound like a compliment, but I'll take it. I'll take anything I can get in the way of compliments. So I'll take that one. Anyway, on the front of ETH, like I said, a breakout above 1.3k starts looking really good. Right now, it's struggling a little bit, but I'm not too worried. If anything, like if this starts going sideways in here, then it starts looking worse. But this is just 2 candles in, right? You want to see a little bit more development, at least this weekly close, and then we'll see. On the ETH-BTC front, I'm actually starting to get excited, because it's not moving the way I would expect it to, which was basically it to move down. Look at that. You have a resistance here. You have a test. You have another test, a big one. You have another test. You have another test. You have a big test again, and you have another test, right? Even if you think this is gonna go down, eventually, like with this many tests, you would have to expect it to do this. And that's quite the move, right? If you have a breakout of this kind of level, you can expect quite the move, and like 20, 30, 40, 50% isn't out of the question if you're bearish, right? If you're bullish, you're aiming for the flippening, that's quite a bit higher. I think it was around like 0.15, 0.13. I don't quite remember. I removed it from the chart, but somewhere around those lines. So that'd be like a 2x, if not a little bit more. I could look up the market caps of this and then just calculate it in my head, but I'm too lazy. But anyway, it's a little bit. And it's holding, right? It's holding strong. And the longer it holds strong at that resistance, the more likely it is to actually just break out. So I'm just hoping basically that all my plays that I'm trying to make play out before ETH does, and then I want to be rotating into ETH. Basically, like I hold Litecoin right now. I've been interested in XRP. XRP's been also outperforming. And I mean, if you want to just check how stuff has been outperforming, you just do this. You see, this is XRP versus ETH basically, and this is the longer time frames. And as you can see, it's kind of since 2021, it's been trading in a range against ETH, but it's had like a little bit of a move up, a little bit of a pop, which basically what I would do and what I'm trying to do with all the altcoins that I'm trading is a mean reversion on ETH, so I can rotate back into ETH, because I think ETH's gonna win over them long term. The same, I mean, this is the more interesting one. Like I said, I don't actually have an XRP position right now. I only have a Litecoin position. And Litecoin, you can even clearer see this, right? So Litecoin's been struggling against ETH by a lot. It went down against ETH by 95%, which was basically worthless against ETH. And then from the bottom against ETH, it's been doubled. And I would like it to mean revert, basically, shoot up another like 2x basically against ETH, and then it will rotate back into ETH. That's all I'm willing to, like on these altcoin plays, that all I'm looking for, a little bit of a mean reversion. And so far it's been working, right? I've been dead on with my Litecoin, especially against ETH, like I said. And ETH's not been doing too poorly itself, like I said, against Bitcoin. So if you can outperform ETH, you're doing something right, at least nowadays, which is quite nice. Flipping is just over a 2x. Yeah, that's what I figured. I knew it was just somewhere around 0.15. But yeah, like I want to see a little bit of altcoin actions that I can rotate into ETH before the other altcoins go to shit again, and then go from there. Okay, so that's ETH. Like I said, ETH BTC starting to look quite good to me. It's kind of has this upwards trajectory. You can see, like, first it was consolidating in this area, then it was in here. It broke down a little bit, but it came right back into it, and now it's here again. So, like, this is a little bit going upwards, which presses it into this resistance, right? And at some point, there's just not enough willing sellers there anymore, and then you get a really good upwards movement. So the longer this stays around here, the more interested I get, and that's why I'm hoping that my stuff goes up first, so I can have some fun with ETH. Basically, have some altcoins, make some money with it, outperform ETH, then rotate back into ETH, watch it flip everything, and then either rotate into Bitcoin or as in like buy even more Bitcoin, or just exit the markets, one or the other. I'm not entirely sure yet. Thoughts on buying Coinbase stock? I think it's a decent opportunity, given like the FTX kind of disaster, right? Let's call it that way. Removed a big competitor to Coinbase, right? So if you think bottom's close, seems like a decent bet. I don't like Coinbase. Their fees are atrocious. The way they work with customers, I don't like it. But it's one of the few stocks that you can actually trade. So it's not the worst in the world. And then if you actually get a little bit of a bull market back, I think like you can have quite high targets, right? So 200 seems reasonable at some point down the line, which is a 5x. I think Bitcoin is probably a better bet in general, but if you want to have stocks, I mean, Coinbase seems decent enough. But in general, I like to bet on the assets in crypto more so than the infrastructure, especially given the infrastructure just kind of seems to go belly up every other month. Like whatever you trust just kind of blows up. So Bitcoin hasn't, and I don't think Bitcoin will. So you're betting, you have a safe bet in Bitcoin, and I think the upside's the exact same, if not larger, on Bitcoin. So yeah, that's that. Talk about ETH. Next one, obviously, given I'm still in the trade, we can talk about my trade. Litecoin, I have too much shit on this chart. We had the breakout above 60. so far so good, right? Basically just you have a range, trade in it, you break out, and now it's just pausing here. Like on the weekly, it looks completely fine. There's a few people freaking out about this basically, and I totally get it. If I actually followed my rules, I should have taken some profit, would have rebought here, which was basically just we had a breakout here above 80, and that got stuffed, right? The moment we started closing below it, I would have been a sell on the underside, which on Monday, this was happening while we're streaming weekly open. I didn't have like any time to talk basically, but I drew this line and basically tried to make it obvious that this is important. The moment you started losing it, we had this little bit of a down move, right? So Litecoin went down, 7% from that point, and now it's back at support. So that was an interesting move. Nothing really to write home about. This is kind of the moves that we're kind of used to now, 7%. But all in all, like this isn't the worst in the world, right? It's just a range that broke up and then consolidated. And so far, like it's looking pretty bullish to me. Like this is basically a consolidation here. And what you expect in general of these things, whenever you get a range breakout, you go up, you consolidate. And this is like in general what I'm looking for when you're breaking out, right? There's two ways to break out. There's actually three, but we'll talk about these two first. So one is this, you break out and you retest immediately and you come back up. This is what most people are looking for. So they're trying to rebuy the range boundary. I don't actually like it too much because I want to see people front run the range boundary to show me that it's actually much more bullish than this, right? So this example is much more bullish and you get the second move up. This one oftentimes just goes up and then fizzles out, comes back in the range, looks like shit. So I actually don't want to see this come back to the breakout level, which is technically 60, but even 69, I don't want to see that. I want to see it go sideways here and then prepare for the next move upwards. And I don't really see a reason why it wouldn't. So right now I'm still holding my Litecoin. Nothing's changed on that front. It's just a stronger version of Bitcoin. And the best way to show this is on the Litecoin Bitcoin chart. You had a breakdown of sorts. And I mean, this is something that I've talked about the entire stream now, right? You have a range. This is a massive range, this monthly range. You fall below the range, you reclaim it. Where do you want to go? You want to go back to the range high. And that's a conservative target, right? Now, obviously, there's no coins that doesn't have to go back to range high, but the realistic kind of TA approach would suggest you want to aim for this. So that's what I'm doing. So that's basically all I want to get. I don't necessarily want new Litecoin, Bitcoin all-time highs. I just want to see this continue. And the funny thing is, like a bunch of people have been like, oh yeah, Litecoin's been dumping, whatever. The thing is, you had a monthly chart that looks like this, a massive green candle, and now you have a tiny red one here. And we have 24 days to go. But even if this doesn't move against Bitcoin this month, that looks incredible, right? You have like a strong breakout candle and then you have sideways. Like this is just one candle. Even if it goes 3 months sideways, the next move you would expect is another push up. So that looks still excellent. Don't really see anything wrong with it. It's just basically the Litecoin USD chart is going to be pushed around by both the S&P and Bitcoin. But whenever this wants to go again, I think there's some upside left. So I mean, this is basically a 3x against Bitcoin, which I think isn't too unrealistic. More realistic, obviously, like lower targets, basically down here. But that 70% still, I think there's room to go anyway. So I like this chart. It's still my favorite chart in crypto overall. But yeah, don't get wrecked. It's an altcoin at the end of the day. But I think there's good promise there. That's why I'm holding. Don't really I'm not stressing about it too much. And my only concern about this, the only real thing I'm worried about is that I'm gonna underperform ETH on this. But the chart looks better than ETH BTC. So I'm hoping that it's just gonna outperform. Litecoin has the halving coming up. Yes, it does. It's still a little bit to go, but it has narrative to go. Yes. Okay. Are you bullish on Link for the next bull run? Do you see that 3 figures? I mean, Link in general. I'm not the biggest fan of Link. I like the thing itself, but the chart doesn't look too bad. Basically, you had a range here. I was shit talking Link for the longest time, and it's been in the down, in a bear market for the longest time. But this is basically the exact same thing that I showed you guys on Litecoin to show you on almost any chart right now. It's basically you have this range, you fall back down, and now you're actually starting to crawl back into it, which is not the worst, right? This isn't the bad looking chart per se. It's Link. I'm not the biggest fan of Link, but if I didn't like the Litecoin chart so much, I could see myself owning this instead. But it's basically, for me, it's a weaker looking version of Litecoin. And the same is true with Uni against Bitcoin. It's a stronger looking Link, basically. So yeah, actually bounced quite nicely and it's all the way very, very close to the highs again, which just shows that it's really strong. So I like Uni. I like Link. But I like Litecoin more. And I like XRP as well, but it's just all overshadowed by the Litecoin trade. Thoughts on Solana? I mean, the chart looks pretty horrendous. Starts looking much better if we get a weekly close above 14.4. But I think this just needs some time. Basically, needs to consolidate down here, and then if it does something like this, I'd be down to buy it, and then I'd be trading it into quite higher, honestly. But it needs to give me a month or 2 or 3 for this to go sideways, shed some people, get some new people on board, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to be buying it here. If it crashes, I want to be buying it at 4. That's the line in the sand where I'm just okay, I'm just gonna buy this because I think it's the upside is too large for me not to. So if it crashes 4, if it goes sideways down here for 3 or 4 months, I'm down to buy it too. Right now, not really interested. And I mean, the Solana Bitcoin chart is basically in a range as well. We had this range here, fell all the way back into it, and I want to see this consolidated for a while before I can get involved again. How's ADA looking? Oh God, I hate that I'm doing this, but no, well. ADA BTC, kill me. Oh, it's okay. Okay, so let's do ADA. I've done it before. Support, Jesus Christ, that chart is horrendous. To answer your question, ADA looks horrendous. It looks actually much worse than Bitcoin does. However, that's possible. How far away is this? Oh, support's only 50% away. No, fuck that. I wouldn't want to get close to it. Not necessarily because I'm this is gonna go down, but because there's just no support, and every support that we had just mercilessly got fucked. And I do not like ADA anyway, so yeah, let's make this a little bit prettier. This doesn't need to be here. This is resistance. The next support's down here. So yeah, that looks horrendous. I do not see a reason to get involved with this. If you reclaim this, maybe, but even at that point, kind of looks like shit. But that might be my bias against ADA speaking. But basically, what you can do if you absolutely love ADA is you want to see it reclaim 0.37, come back up here, and then you can trade it up there. I think that's a reasonable trade. Anything else, not really. Next support's 0.15, which is 50% down. CL's in the chat. Dude, you can come on anytime. It's been a while. I don't even know how to say your Jimao. Fucking hell, I cannot. How do you pronounce? Like, how do you say it in actual real life? I've never heard it. I've seen it written GMEOW, but I do not know how to say it. I'm too autistic for it. Jimao. I'm down. But no, you can come on anytime. It's been too long, dude. Last time we chatted was like a year ago or something, if I remember correctly, or even a little bit longer. I think it was during the bull market, actually. Bring on the cat. Not today, it's too late, but I'm down for Friday, technically. I could speak with Cred about it, and then we can do another one of our podcasts, or just, I don't know. If not that, next week, Wednesday, I'm always down to chat with the cat. Oh, that's nice, chat with the cat. I will suggest this as a title if we have it. But yeah, ADA looks horrendous. I don't know why people love it so much. Anything else? Dot is interesting. Okay. How is that interesting? I'm missing something. I mean, in a world in which all altcoins outperform Bitcoin, this isn't really outperforming Bitcoin. But I mean, it's in a range, so there's something there. Cred's out, chat with the cat, doing numbers. It's not Casual Friday anymore, it's chat with the cat. But yeah, I don't really see anything here. I'm not biggest fan of DOT anyway. But yeah, nah. Just looks like a bearish range to me. And the reason why I'm saying bearish range is because it's tested up here a couple times, and then the last time it didn't even manage to get back up there. It's now rolling over. I don't like it. It's not the worst in the world, but yeah, there's better ones. Let's look at BNB USD and whatever. I'll use this and BNB BTC because why the fuck not? So BNB. Oh, look at that! How beautiful! It hit range low and it bounced, and it went to range midpoint and it got rejected. And TA doesn't work, my friends. It's just mental illness, but it somehow does work from time to time. Anyways, bounce from the low of the range to the midpoint. I got rejected. So yeah, I think honestly, given how strong this has been, like you'd want to target range high anyway, but yeah, it's kind of just going sideways at this point. But this is against USD. Against Bitcoin, it's been absolutely going crazy. Another one of these that just kind of like does like this kind of stupid pattern that just goes to infinity every time. But this one's really hard to trade. Oh, look, trend line. It worked. A triangle that actually worked. How beautiful. Anyway, on the Bitcoin pair, it's just so strong. What the fuck are you supposed to do with this? But yeah, on the USD pair, it's a little bit more interesting because you can actually trade it here in opposition to whatever the fuck that Bitcoin pair is. So yeah, went to the midpoint, got rejected. You'd want to be buying it at, like, I think this is one that's so strong you'd actually want to buy it at range low, like at 210 if you get it again, and then you want to target the range high. So I might be doing that. I don't know. I don't not a biggest fan of Binance, but I do use it. So just is how it is. Doge. Okay, let's add Dogecoin to the list. Making the list grow longer and longer. But yeah, Binance coin, BNB, whatever, has been an interesting one. Actually looks quite good. Has always looked quite good. It's just one of those. But yeah, let's look at Dogecoin. It's actually one of the ones that has been really, really strong. It found its bottom here. Elon Musk bought it. We had a big move up, and it actually broke through resistance here, high time frame resistance, and it's dipping into it right now. I actually don't hate it. If I didn't like other coins better, this one actually wouldn't be the worst to trade, honestly. And even on the weekly, look, you have kind of support here, and you have the breakout level here, right? So basically what this did is it made a low, made a lower low, and then it found support exactly where the first low was. Some people would call this an inverse head and shoulders. I just call those people mentally ill, but it is kind of like, it's somewhat of like that kind of shitty pattern. Anyway, it's basically just a range. It fell back in the range, like it's the same pattern again. Sideways, fall out, come back, go sideways, moon it, right? It's the same thing. It's not really about the inverse head and shoulders. It's about the range that gets reclaimed. And yeah, it found support where it needed to find support, and it's actually trading quite nicely, quite cleanly. I think like if you get it somewhere here, there's a trade to be had, like at this support level at 500. Is it 500 sats? I think it's 500 sats. Fucking hell. I don't even want to look at this anymore. For the people that don't know, I actually bought it down here. Like literally I was the lowest. Like I got filled down here on the wicks. And then sold it for 2x. Because I was pissed, because basically I was telegraphing all my bids and people front ran me and the price started moving away from me, and I was just pissed. So I moved up 2x and I was like, fuck this, I don't have enough. This pisses me off, and I sold and I went to infinity. So my opinion on this is biased, to say the least. So yeah, and the USD pair also looking quite nicely, actually. Basically broke below this, came back up, tested it again. Not the end of the world, right? Like this is not the worst chart. Starts looking really good above 0.1. So if you start getting close above 0.11, basically making this into invalidation, and not invalidation, into a false breakdown, then basically, I mean, there's room to go to the $1 target. If you make this into a false breakdown, starts looking really good really fast. So basically bears have a good short here, because if they're wrong, they're going to be wrong fast, and they can flip and take it to $1. I don't hate it too much. I don't like those coins, so I'm probably just going to focus on my Boomer Litecoin coin. But yeah, it's not the worst chart in the world. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. I'm getting tired and my nose is starting to get blocked for some reason, so I'm starting to lose or sound weird. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Like I said, I'm actually gonna talk with the cat about maybe having him on Friday if he wants to. If not, next Wednesday, we'll see. And otherwise, I don't think there's too much to discuss. There's gonna be a Friday show, and I'm gonna be back next week too. So we'll hope that we have some price movements till then. Anything better than this shit, I'm down for. But cannot have everything. So we'll see. we'll see. But yeah, thanks for coming by, hanging out, all that kind of stuff. Would be glad to do it again. And yeah, we'll see each other relatively soon. Have a nice rest of your week, and